So, good morning or afternoon, depending on wherever you are. This is part 2 of my journey through the England squad. I hope you enjoy it. For those of you who haven't seen it, or have seen it, I do have a performance journal that I was using through this entire period and through the 5 years that I've been shooting. It is helpful, it's helped me, and it's available. I will stick a link down below and a little taggy thing, because I've learned how to do little taggy things now. So they'll be available as and when you want. I've got compound, recurve. I've not got barebow yet because some of the classification scores are very difficult to find. But it's there if you want it. And even if you don't want to use my version, I do recommend that you really do put some sort of performance journal in so that you can track what you're doing if this is something you want to do. If you want to get better, if you want to improve, you need to track your progress, otherwise you're going to be falling into the same pitfalls and the same traps and the same things again and again and again. And even with a performance journal, that's something that I've found that I have done in the past. I have fallen into the same traps, and I have had to go back to my performance journal and, okay, this is what I was falling into, and this is how I can resolve it. So things get a lot easier to resolve, otherwise you're just fighting yourself. So give yourself the best chance of succeeding. Thank you, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Um, 29 to 28 days till case. I've got the county team coming down today at the range to work on some team drills, which will be good for working on the England drills. The timing of the line, because it's a team match, one shoots, one gets off, one shoots, one gets off, and the timing of the on and the off is critical. So we'll be working on that tonight in terms of experience. In terms of technique, I'm just going to be going on what I've gone on for the last couple of weeks, making sure everything's coming back. I'm going to try and make sure it's timed a little bit better and a little bit more consistency. I'm also going to make sure string alignment, that's the big one. The string alignment is the big one, because once it gets darker, it sends me further and further into the 8. It's only sending me into the 8, it's not sending me mass amounts, but the group is still 10 sized. So for every arrow that I shoot where the string is not currently aligned, I'm throwing 2 points away. So that's the same with the black string, that's the same with the yellow string, or green string, sorry. It doesn't matter on the colour of the string, it always seems to go across. So that's something I need to be wary of, to make sure that the string is currently aligned. And if it is aligned and I am hitting in the 8, I've got to move my sight. I've got to crank it over a bit. Again, which is fine, I've got no problems with that. I'm just going to be wary with the light. And if the light does shift due to the weather, as I'm shooting, it's just something to be aware of. Maybe aim 9 o'clock in the outer gold, just to make sure that it goes at least in the gold. Equipment, not changing a thing. I've set blue string up, green string up, black string up with the same knocking points. So I'm going to shoot in the blue one tonight and make sure that's got the same sight mark. Do 36 arrows with the blue, 36 arrows with the yellow, 36 arrows with the 36 arrows with the black. I'll probably plot the groups, see which one's the tightest, and I'll go with that. Bracing height's all the same at 9.2. Knocking height's the same, I believe 14. And weather. Let's talk about weather. There is minimal wind. It's massively overcast, and it's threatening to slam it down. So that's going to be fun. Okay, here we go again. So I have just finished my session. I didn't shoot as many arrows as I want. We were doing a head-to-head. Let's start with the qualification round. Everything was high and left and right, very left and right, very wishy-washy and kind of almost like floaty groups. I had 4 good shots that went somewhere near the middle, not always near the middle, and then there was always 2 wild ones for some reason. After I'd shot my first head-to-head, I realised that I was pushing with my pivot point and not my pressure point. So I'd lost the focus on the front arm, so the hand was not in a decent position. Now it didn't help because it was wet, which meant that I needed extra focus on that front hand to make sure that I'm pushing through the right part. When I'm not pushing through the right part, or this part is too relaxed, the shot goes haywire. So I need to make sure that the pivot point is the primary focus of my shot on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. They are going to be what determines success or failure. So that is very, very important. Very, very. I mean, by the time I emptied my quiver in the last arrow, everything was gold width-wise. The rain was hammering it down, beyond hammering it down, and everything was still gold width. And I was aiming off at the top in the blue-red line. Everything was in the gold, apart from a couple that I forgot to aim off, and they dropped into the 8. So, you know, the difference in what I did was completely chalk and cheese. So in terms of string picture, the blue didn't really add an awful lot to what I was doing. The yellow seems pretty good in low light, but the black was fine. There was no problems with that in the low light. I changed from the blue to black. I didn't shoot the 36, 36, 36 because that's just not the way the night panned out. But yeah, I'm glad that I found I'm glad that I found what was missing. Sure, the shot is coming through the pivot point, drive it towards the 10, and that will get me a lot of points if I keep doing that. So yeah, I consider tonight a success. I'd like to go home and shoot more arrows just to really kind of reinforce that. We'll see if that happens or not. It's already late. Head-to-heads, I enjoyed the head-to-heads. We played head-to-heads for a bit. I won both my head-to-heads. I went 7-1 and 6-0. So yeah, by the time I figured out my pressure point, I started hitting golds, good golds as well. So I was quite happy. Keys, because that gets too much audio there. Okay, so today's session is just going to be shooting into the bag. Literally working on what I've been working on with coming back and in. That's a key. But obviously yesterday I discovered that I was shooting through the pressure point, not the pivot point. Shooting through the pivot point and not the pressure point. So that needs to be addressed. I'm going to try and shoot a lot of shots, really driving the pivot point, and hopefully it'll stick up here somewhere. And that's pretty much it. Just keep on with the volume, keep on with the shot. I'd like to feel nice and braced inside the shot again. Hopefully that'll come with the pressure point. So short and sweet. Let's crack on. good session. It felt a bit disjointed. I've just finished 130 arrows indoors into the bag from about 5 meters. Everything seemed a bit disjointed. I was trying to fix too many things at once. Cat. I felt like I was trying to fix too many things at once. I wanted to lean towards the target instead of leaning back and trying to feel that. And then the finger pressure, I couldn't quite get it to fit. And then I was having some issues with the clicker. The timing just wasn't right. I was trying to fix everything at once, and instead I ended up fixing not a lot. I had some good shots, I had some good time shots, but I'm not coming away feeling satisfied. I feel like I've made progress, but I felt like I could have made progress much more in one area and then focused on another area another time. But I think because there's a competition on Saturday, I think I want to get everything fixed as soon as possible, as quick as possible, and I'm not being patient enough to get it fixed. But yeah, the big takeaways are, I found I was kind of just leaning back a little bit, so I need to drive towards the target. I kept my pressure point quite nicely this time. It felt good for the most part. I started squinting one eye again so I could see the fibre optic a bit clearer, because I've been losing that and I think it's been affecting the shot. So I've just squinted that just so I can get string alignment, bow straight, fibre optic in. That though does tend to lead me to over aim at times. So if I'm over aiming in times, I'm kind of a bit more tensed up and I'm not coming through the shot as quickly or as smoothly. It's just a kind of, okay, the pin's on gold, go! Equipment wise, the knocking point has slipped up again. I might start paying someone to tie my knocking points because I feel like I'm useless at them. It doesn't matter what type I tie, always seem to shift. So that's becoming increasingly frustrating. Okay, apologies for the darkness. I've just left the range, so lights dropping as it tends to these days. Okay, so I didn't open with an opener, so I'm gonna tell you what I wanted to work on. And basically, it was literally I just wanted to shoot my shot and get some good shots. Now, as soon as I stepped onto the line, it became really difficult to get through the clicker. The click just wasn't clicking. I was there and I felt it and everything was happy. It just wasn't clicking at all. Nothing happened, and I spent most of the night just kind of not fighting it. It was just, it didn't feel like a fight. I felt like I was just waiting a very long time for the clicker to go off all the time, which was really frustrating. In the end, I moved my clicker back a couple of millimeters to try and make it a little bit easier, which seemed to work. I had some good ends and I had some bad ends. I finished, I had like 56s and 55s, and then I had 50s and 52s. So it was very across the board. One thing I was pleased about is that when I was coming up to, as I came to the setup position, I usually place the sight pin above the target, and then I'll look at the arrow and I'll come back till the arrow point is just getting to the clicker, and then I will address. Now usually recently it's been falling on the right hand side, and then I have to move it back into the gold. Tonight it's been sat in the gold all the time, and I was getting close to the end. I was getting really frustrated, and all of a sudden the groups just went haywire, absolutely unbelievably. I had no idea what was going on. There was no reason for it. There was no nothing. So all I did was I opened my stance up a little bit, because I noticed on one of the arrows that the sight pin, once I'd taken my eyes off the target, again was floating towards the 8 ring at 3 o'clock. So I opened my stance up just a touch, and then sight pin sat in the middle on the next 6 arrows, and I put a 58 in. So, and that's how I finished. I finished on the 58 because I thought, okay, well that's really good. So place, I need to make a visual note. I need to remember it, basically. This is all this is just so I remember it. So I'm going to go on about this for like an hour and a half, but it does seem really productive to good shooting that my stance is more open than closed. It seems to, when the sight pin just sits on the gold, it just seems to work. It seems to flow. It's just really nice. So I was happy that small adjustment made such a difference. In terms of the hand position, I was very, very happy with the hand position. That worked really, really nicely. There are occasions where I didn't do it and I dropped low into the 8 or the 7, but when I got it right, I got it right. Even with the kind of hour and a half to get through the clicker. Summary: sight pin needs to be in the middle once I have anchored. That can be changed with opening and closing of the feet position. I mean, I've got 4-minute ends, so it should be okay. Tomorrow's session, I'm just going to try and work on getting through the clicker. Yeah, it's a light session tomorrow. Just nice and steady. Just try and work on getting through the clicker. Shooting at the bag. I'm pretty sure that's it. Knocking point seems to have held. I had to retie it because I seem to suck at tying knocking points. But this one's held really, really nicely. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything crossed, that going into EVESHAM it doesn't shift. I'll obviously shoot the first 36, check it, shoot the first 36, check it again, shoot the second 36, check it again, and then head into the head-to-head matches. So yeah, I can do it. I know I can do it. Same again next time. Okay, so I'm just about to head down to the range. Today, I had a day off yesterday, just to rest, just to clear my head as well, because the last 2 sessions have been a bit sketchy. I wanted to take a step back so I could take a step forward. Today I'm going to be looking at making sure my stance is consistent, making sure the sight pin falls in the middle when I've come to anchor. That seems to be directly related to my stance, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. I'm going to get the giraffe back up and have a look at my backside and make sure that's not slipping. And then I'll have a look at the front side and see if the front side's doing what it should be doing. Concentrating on the pivot point, keeping the bow straight, keeping the string aligned, and then just following the process to get through. And I will shoot 12 arrows at a time, and I will find the 6 that group the nicest, and I will use them tomorrow at EVESHAM and hope for the best. And that's basically where I'm going to be at. No equipment changes. None. Oh, hi there. It's Friday the 5th of August. I have just finished my session at 70 metres. A couple of breakthroughs. My knocking point shifted. 13 mil is optimal. So I adjusted the rest to cope with that. The second breakthrough was when I had a couple of those groups again, where the arrows were kind of flying low. The arrows were flying down here. So the arrows were flying down here. So to get them back up there, I closed one eye and got everything aligned. It seemed to be like I was canting the bow to one side, which made them drop. And the wind should only push me into the 7 at the most, but it was pushing me into the 5 and the 4. So squint one eye. It's a good idea. EVESHAM National Tour, first half 299 was not, I've been scoring 323s and 325s, so I should be scoring, 650s, 640 odds. It was very disappointing. Right, you can see there I was completely despondent, I wasn't happy, everything. You see it all the way leading up. All the way leading up to that competition, I wasn't happy. Something just wasn't quite right. Knocking points were shifting. I couldn't quite get in. I couldn't quite get out. Things just weren't clicking for me. So basically, so let's go through the day, because I didn't have it in me to go through the day at the time. I wrote all my thoughts down to address it at a later date, which I did, but let's go through them now while I'm here. So basically, I got to the range, nice big open range, stunning venue if you ever get to shoot up at Evesham. The sun was smack bang in the middle of our face. So you stood up at the target and the sun was literally, I had to squint to not get the sun in my face. So I'd already practiced squinting, but I didn't know how I was going to play the day. So I ended up having to close one eye just so the sun didn't get in it, which again made for a very constricted, not a very comfortable shot. Now, I usually wear a baseball cap because they look cool, and sometimes it keeps the sun out at certain angles. There are, especially early in the morning, if I'm shooting early in the morning, it does nothing. So this is one of the reasons I ended up picking up a bucket hat, because I didn't have one before. I didn't have one that fit before, because I have an unusually large head to fit my unusually large brain. So that's basically today. The Evesham shoot was the direct reason that I ended up with a bucket hat, because otherwise I would have kept with the baseball cap. Now, so Evesham, weather's great, wore my baseball cap, sun's in my face, so I'm already uncomfortable. Now, partway through the qualification round, I realised that I wasn't shooting the shot that I should have been shooting. I was shooting the shot that I was comfortable with, because something in front of my face was making me uncomfortable. All the stuff that I'd been working on that put my groups in the gold size, I wasn't doing, because I was literally just trying to feel comfortable. So I was being comfortable in my shot. I wasn't trying to work on the things that I'd worked on. So there was something in my face that had made me feel different. So I wanted to feel, subconsciously, I wanted to feel comfortable and happy. And that's what I reverted to. This is where I've now built into a part of my mental program, the being brave into the shot. Being brave into the shot. So you come up and you're brave into the shot and you shoot what you've been working on. You don't shoot what you've not been working on, if that makes sense. You don't go back to what feels comfortable. You go back and do what's right. So I ended up starting to do that, and there were a lot of mistakes. If you look at the second half, there's a lot more blues than there is in the first. There's no blues in the first half, but the shots that went right, the brave shots that felt good, were 9s and 10s instead of 8s and 7s, which makes a massive difference. So as I came through and kept doing that, the shots got better and better. So I was much happier with what I was doing in the second half than the first half. The head-to-heads, the knocking point kept shifting. So I was shooting really good shots, and they were hitting 9s and 10s at the start, and then they would drop, and then I'd have to shift my knocking point, and then eventually they'd drop again. And because I ranked so low, I got an easy-ish round at the first time. I say easy, Cameron's a cracking archer. But I got through, and then went up against Moses, and anyone who's seen Moses shoot knows that he is a class act. So you have got to be massively on your game to beat Moses. So that's how EVESHAM finished for me. It was massively disappointing. I was very kind of within myself. So what I did was I found, because that was the last competition before I was supposed to go to Scotland, but I couldn't finish on that one. I needed to go and take what I've learned into like a throwaway competition, into something that didn't actually matter in terms of score, in terms of performance, in terms of medals, something that didn't matter, and then just shoot the shot as brave as I can. As brave as I can and as well as I can, just shoot the shot, and we will see what happens. And that's what I did. I went to Derbyshire on the 20th of August, so look out for that one coming in part 2. That'll probably be part 4. Part 3, part 4. One of them. So that's it for part 2. The rest is coming soon. If you've enjoyed it, keep following. If you've hated it, keep following. If you're in between, keep following. And I shall see you next time.